Verse 24. And his power shall be mighty.
Talking about this little horn, Antiochus the fourth. His power shall be mighty. Read.
But not by his own power.
But it's not by his own power. Read.
And he shall destroy wonderfully.
Read.
And shall prosper and practice.
Read.
And shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
The host of heaven, the mighty and holy people, the Israelites. Read.
And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his land, in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart. And by peace shall destroy many.
He shall magnify himself in his heart. He called himself Epiphanes. He said that he is God manifested on the earth. This man magnified himself in his own heart. And it says, and by peace shall destroy many. Read.
He shall also stand up against the prince of princes.
He shall stand up against the prince of princes, the prince of the host. Keep reading.
But he shall be broken without hand.
But he shall be broken without hand. Let's read about that real quick. Give me 2 Maccabees 9. He said he shall stand up against the prince of hosts, the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. 2 Maccabees 9, let's start at 1 so we know exactly who this is talking about.
The book of 2 Maccabees chapter 9 and verse 1.
Read.
About that time came Antiochus with dishonor out of the country of Persia.
So we're talking about Antiochus. This is Antiochus the fourth, Antiochus Epiphanes. Jump down to verse 5.
Verse 5. But the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, smote him with an incurable and invisible plague.
So the Lord God Almighty, the God of Israel, smote Antiochus the fourth with an incurable and invisible plague, a sickness, illness, yo. Read.
For as soon as he had spoken these words.
Soon as he had spoken these words. Remember, Antiochus said he would go to Jerusalem and make it a burying place for the Jews. He would go to Jerusalem and make Jerusalem a cemetery, a graveyard for the men and women of Judah. That's what he said. Keep reading.
A pain of the bowels that were...
Where we at? Where we at?
Verse 5.
It says, a pain of the bowels that was remediless came upon him. Keep reading.
And sore torment of the inner part.
So soon as he spoke those words, the Lord struck him with incurable and invisible sickness, pain in the bowels. There was no remedy. And it was sore and it was torments in his inner part. Soon as he said he's going to go to Jerusalem and make it a graveyard of the Jews, the Lord touched him. Broken without hands. Hey, jump down to verse 7.
Verse 7. Howbeit, he nothing at all ceased from his bragging.
But still, even with all that, he kept bragging, kept running his mouth. Keep reading.
But still was filled with pride.
And he was still filled with pride. He still thought he was God, manifested on earth. Keep reading.
Breathing out fire in his rage against the Jews, and commanding to haste the journey.
So he was commanding to haste the journey. He was trying to get to Jerusalem as fast as possible. Read.
But it came to pass that he fell down from his chariot, cried violently.
Carried violently. So he fell off of his chariot while his chariot was moving fast, hitting rocks, rocking back and forth. He fell right out that chariot, yo.
So that having a sore fall, all the members of his body were much pained.
And that was a terrible fall out of that chariot. He was in a lot of pain throughout his whole body. What verse we in?
Verse 8.
Keep reading.
And thus he that a little afore thought he might command the waves of the sea. So proud was he beyond the condition of man.
Remember, this man thought he was God manifested on earth. He thought he could control the waves of the sea. He thought he could tell a tsunami stop in the name of love or something like that. Keep reading.
Or do like Moses do, make the sea speak.
Think it. He like Moses. Bring it out. Keep reading.
And weigh the high mountains in a balance.
He thought he can weigh the high mountains in a balance. Read.
Was now cast on the ground.
Now this man was cast to the ground. Read.
And carried in horse litter.
And they had to carry him in a horse litter. Yo, read.
Showing forth unto all the manifest power of God.
That was the manifest power of God that touched him. He was broken without hands. Keep reading.
So that the worms rose up out of the body of this wicked man.
Worms started coming out of this man's body. Read.
And whilst he lived in sorrow and pain.
And as he lived, he was in sorrow and he was in pain all throughout his body. Read.
His flesh fell away.
His flesh started to fall away, started to rot. Read.
And the filthiness of his smell was noisome to all his army.
And he stank. And the smell, everybody could smell it, yo. Everybody. It was disgusting. Go ahead, bring it up.
That's that walking zombie right there.
Yeah. Where we at?
Verse 10.
Jump down to 11.
Verse 11. Here therefore, being plagued,
read.
He began to leave off his great pride.
He left off that great pride. He knew he was not Epiphanes. He knew he wasn't God manifested on earth. Read.
and to come to the knowledge of himself by the scourge of God.
Read.
His pain increasing every moment.
Read.
And when he himself could not abide in his own smell, he said these words.
Let's see what he said. Read.
It is meet to be subject unto God.
It is meet to be subject unto God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Read.
And that a man that is mortal.
And that a man that is mortal, Antiochus IV was a man, a mortal man. Can you read?
Should not proudly think of himself as if he were God.
He learned not to think of himself as God. He learned not to think of himself as God manifested on